This is going to be a short tutorial. I'm going to talk about fog and a common problem I often face when choosing the color for a fog. Let me demonstrate. This scene has a skybox in it. The skybox is very bright and sunny from one angle, but if we swivel around, this part is super dark and gloomy, so it differs in colors a lot, and this can pose a problem. Alright, so the professor from Treasure Planet gets to represent the bright and happy part of the world. He's standing there in the background, a giant statue. And on the other side we also have the professor, but now he's the gloomy, dark, mordorish, evil statue. And now we want to add some fog in this scene, of course, and that's easy enough. We just go to the lighting and click on fog, and we choose a color for the statue. Good enough, but if we swivel around, that's super not good enough. So this doesn't match at all, right? So we go in and we find another color that matches this background, but now we have the same problem with the other sky then. So we obviously need to change the fog color depending on where we look. But I haven't really found a solution for this in Unity, a simple one at least. I guess there are some atmospheric systems that's quite complex, but I want a quick easy fix. So I created a solution that I think is pretty artist friendly, so I have good control over it. I'm using a blurred kind of variant of the skybox as a fog color determinant. I then create a small sphere that I position around the camera. To do that, I'm using a script, so if I move the camera about, the sphere is always following. On this sphere I have a shader, and the shader is created with Amplify. It's an unlit shader, and I have turned around the normals, so the normals are facing towards the camera instead of away from it, so I can see it from the camera view. So let's unplug everything from the opacity so we just see the emission, which is just the texture then that's shown on the sphere. If we look at it from the camera view, it looks like this then. A super blurry texture that represents the fog color. Now we just need to determine where we see this texture representing the fog and where we see the scene, which isn't in fog. To do this, I'm using the opacity on the shader, and I plug in a depth path there to represent where it's fog and not fog. This is what the fog calculation looks like then in the shader. It's a screen depth node with a screen position going in there, and that creates the fog, and then with some float values we can determine how much or how little the fog is. I'm plugging this directly in the emission then to demonstrate. So here we have a fog pass then. If we move a bit away from the camera and look through the sphere, we can see here that looking through it we can see fog and not fog. I can control the fog with some exposed float parameters. So we have distance, and then we have fall off. The distance goes into a divide, and then the fall off goes into a power node. There is also a multiplied node here using the alpha of the fog texture. Let's wait with that a bit. I'll demonstrate what that does later. The fog pass into the opacity node, and then the texture into emission. And voila, we have kinda something. The problem we're facing here though is that we can't see the skybox, so we need to mask that out from the fog. To create this skybox mask, I'm using a very similar idea as I did for the fog, but I'm clamping the fog a lot with a remap node. Then I get something that works as a mask. Plug this sky mask into a lerp as an alpha, so it's either the fog pass or it's black, which means see-through then transparent. Plug this into the opacity and then the texture into the emission, And that's it. Now we have a working fog. It's a bit easier to demonstrate here in the transition, so if I move the professor about, you can see that he changes fog depending on where he is. So yay, now we have a multicolored fog that we have full control over by just painting in Photoshop. Let's finish up with this multiply node I talked about earlier. I thought it'd be nifty that we could paint out fog in some areas, maybe if there's a tower coming out of the fog but it's kind of not foggy on top or something like that. So we can do that using the alpha channel. With the alpha channel I'm painting a little hole kind of in the fog box. And now we don't have any fog on the top of this guy. So I can kind of swivel him here. Full fog, no fog. I hope this is useful for someone, and if there's a better way to do this, I'm all ears. I'm in no way a kind of shader expert here. So please let me know if you have a better solution for this, maybe more performant. Not that I know if it's bad performant, maybe it's super performant, who knows. But anyway, thanks for watching, bye bye!